Okay, so just a few words on tonight's political developments in the US. I should say today's, it's nighttime in the UK. Um, it looks like Hillary Clinton has essentially become the presumptive Democrat nominee. This isn't massively surprising. She'd been the front runner for a very long time. She'd had the edge over Sanders for a very long time. But she's wisely not being too complacent with this situation because her campaign knows, of course, they need to get the Sanders supporters in the general election. And I think that's going to be a real struggle because a lot of Sanders supporters, not only they're ideologically opposed to the Clintons because they see them as too close to Wall Street, and a lot of Sanders supporters are obviously pretty much to the left. But I think also there are Republicans who have joined the Sanders campaign. There's independents who joined the Sanders campaign because of disillusionment with what we can, I suppose, describe as mainstream politics. Um, Probably a lot of Republicans have joined either Sanders or Clinton because they're so disillusioned with Trump. I don't know. Um, One thing about political punditry is they always focus on demographics, and Sanders has a very strong support among young people and strong among women. And the thing is about demographics, on one hand, I'm a bit skeptical of using it as an approach because not all Mexican Americans think the same, not all young people think the same, not all women think the same, not all men think the same. So I'm a little bit wary of political posters always saying like this candidate has this group or this candidate's got that group. I think what you can see is trends, but the fact of the matter is there are men voting for Hillary Clinton, there are Mexican Americans and black people voting for Trump, and there are Republicans voting for Sanders. So it's not it's not all black and white. Anyway, I mean, at this point, California almost looks like a formality because she's essentially got the nomination. I do think, though, it's a big formality because if she doesn't get California, if some, I don't know what the polling is there, but if she doesn't get California, if Sanders gets California, even if she has enough delegates, I'm not sure what her count is at the moment, but even if she has enough, I'd imagine that would be quite damaging. Unless I'm mistaken, no Democrat nominee has won the general election without winning California in the primaries. Um, as far as I know, I might be wrong about that, but that would seem to be the case. I will point out one thing. Clinton is smart not to be complacent and be come across as too vain and make it look like a coronation. Um, in fact, she's been very wary of that throughout the campaign. What she's been less wary about is using what Trump would somewhat crudely call the woman card, but the reality is she has been bringing feminism into this campaign in a way that wasn't done so much in the 2008 campaign, which was the first campaign I really followed closely, although I've been interested in American politics since 2004. But I think that when, for example, a reporter was saying to Sanders something about sexism because he's still in and he is looking like a barrier to the first woman potential president, Sanders gave a good answer to that. He said the implication of the question is that any woman candidate should be president solely because she's a woman. That was the implication behind the question. And it's something I absolutely agree with. The Clinton campaign generally has already found themselves facing backfire from assuming that women are going to vote for them just because their candidate is a woman. There are a lot of young women who are voting for Sanders. Sure, there will be feminists who will vote for Clinton solely because she's a woman. There will be other women who vote for her because they genuinely believe she's a good candidate. For what it's worth, I actually think Clinton could be a president, and I know not everyone would agree with that, but I think she's got the experience. The thing about Benghazi, right? This is my stance on the Benghazi situation. The Republicans keep bringing that up time and time again. What happened there was horrible. When you get people serving their country who are viciously killed, and she was, it was on her watch. It's absolutely right that she has to face tough scrutiny for that. But in the end of the day, when you're a superpower, you have delegations, diplomatic missions around the world. It The honest truth is, it is impossible to guarantee 100% the safety of the diplomatic staff. Just like when a president sends young men and women into a war zone, he or she simply cannot guarantee they'll all come back alive. And that's sounds like an awful thing to say, but it is the reality. It's just the way it is. So when Republicans really, really vilify Clinton over this, they're ignoring the fact that when Bush was president, American embassies were attacked somewhere in the region 20 times, and unless I'm mistaken, there was staff killed. But the Democrats at that time weren't sure. Bush got a rough ride, but what there seems to be a particularly they really are really using this in a way that's making out that she can personally guarantee their safety. No Secretary of State can do that of any country. So it's a really, I think it's unfair criticism. As for the email thing, it won't help her reputation as untrustworthy. I'm not going to comment too much about that as I know less about the situation. Um, I definitely can understand why a lot of people have a trust issue with Clinton, and it's also the name. I will say though, some people have analysed that they associate her with her husband's scandals. It seems ridiculous to punish her because her husband was unfaithful. That's crazy. I mean, you're not going to vote for a candidate because of the way her husband behaved? That seems a bit unfair. Um, on the other hand, there's the issue of dynastic politics. You know, in my lifetime, the presidential cycle has been Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, and then if it's another Clinton, then that's an issue. On the Republican side, of course, Trump is in this situation now with the judge. I forget the guy's name, but he's Mexican American. As I understand it, he was born in Chicago to Mexican parents. Trump says he's biased because of his Mexican heritage. Um, I don't know about that. A lot of people are criticizing Trump. Paul Ryan's criticizing that. I This is strange, but I sort of see where Trump is coming from. Trump has been very outspoken about the Hispanic community, right? No one disputes that. It's fact. So, is it really that far fetched to suggest that a Mexican, a judge of Mexican heritage, could be biased against him? Is that far fetched? I don't know. It's this Trump University investigation. I don't know. I mean, I can't stand Trump. I hope he doesn't become president. I think he would be a disaster, as I previously pointed out. But I will be fair where fair is due, and maybe Trump has a point about this. I mean, if you're outspoken about a particular group over a particular issue, it's reasonable to assume someone representing that group in a sense, because they're from that heritage, is not exactly going to be neutral in their viewpoint towards you, or at least, I mean, I guess the assumption is that the controversy is that Trump is assuming he won't be professional and be neutral, but I think it's a reasonable assumption. That's not to condone anything Trump has said. The man has been utterly reckless, utterly crass, and in my view, utterly unpresidential. Um, at the moment, though, it seems both parties are divided. I think if Sanders doesn't win California tonight, he should pull out. I understand the argument that he is fighting against big money and against Wall Street, but if he really, really doesn't want Trump to become president, then he has to choose, from his point of view, the lesser of two evils. Um, and it's common sense. If you continue to be in the race, you're going to divide the party. I don't think that Sanders should leave because Hillary Clinton is a woman. I think that's ridiculous. She's already made history tonight by becoming the presumptive Democratic nominee, the first woman in history to do that. So she's already made history. Sanders staying in the race is in no way sexist. Is it misguided? Perhaps. But his argument, okay, this is the thing, he's a democratic socialist, right? From his point of view, Hillary Clinton is a little different from Donald Trump in terms of big money, right? So ideologically, it makes sense that he's staying in because I mean, all the energy that his campaign has spent. Time magazine recently showed the campaign headquarters. because Sanders went much further than anyone, including himself, expected, their headquarters had to be expanded. So I think it's unfair to expect Sanders to leave just because Clinton is a woman. If he should leave, it is because staying in is likely to divide the party. And if you're a loyal Democrat, obviously you don't want to see that happening. For the same reason the Republicans are having this issue about whether or not to back Trump. Frankly, I think from my outside perspective, both parties are now in a situation, and actually something similar is happening in Britain. Here in the UK, the two major parties, the Conservatives and the Labour Party, are also deeply divided among themselves. The Tories are having a civil war, metaphorically, over the EU referendum, and they're getting a lot more spotlight than Labour is. Labour has a leader who the vast majority of people believe will never be prime minister, and there's a lot of people in his own party see him as a very weak leader. So both parties right now are very divided. In America, both the Republicans and Democrats seem very divided. The only major government in the Western world right now that seems to be in a strong position is the Canadian government, because the situation in France is bad with the labour laws there. The situation in Germany, there's a backlash against Merkel for the immigration issues. Justin Trudeau, elbowgate aside, has does seem to come across as quite a strong popular leader right now. He wouldn't be necessarily, I wouldn't agree with all his positions, but he at the moment seems to be one of the strongest leaders in the Western world. Although it's still early days, he's still been in office for less than a year, so we'll see how long that lasts. And like I say, I was impressed by the way the Canadian government stood up for the journalists the other day. That doesn't always happen. I'm not going to get into that again because I've exhausted the issue, but that's that. A few more non-political things to relate just about things going on in the news generally. Kimbo Slice has died. I don't really follow MMA, but obviously with the news of Muhammad Ali, this has just come on top, and it's yet another celebrity death in 2016. Kimbo Slice started off as a YouTube phenomenon, as a street fighter. He became more or less a sportsman. Like I say, I don't follow MMA. The circumstances seem strange. He was only 42, and the the cause of death is undisclosed. It's obviously a big thing in the MMA community. I didn't watch many of his fights. He was obviously a tough guy. Um, but that's coming days after Ali, that's a big thing. And then I'm probably going to make another video incidentally about Ali because there's a billion things being said about both Muhammad Ali and the situation around Muhammad Ali, in terms of all the eulogies. I will say something though before I forget it. I read an interesting editorial today by Steve Bunce, who's one of Britain's most respected boxing writers, and he said that he remembers when he had an interview with Joe Frazier in Philadelphia. Frazier had tears of bitter despair, as he put it, over the way Ali was treating him at that time, marginalising him from the wider black community. The impact that had on Frazier's family was enormous. So, when we make eulogies of someone like Muhammad Ali, it's extremely important to look at all sides. Um, so yeah, I'm going to make another video probably on that. There's other things I want to add, which I didn't necessarily say in the last video. There's a lot to be said about Muhammad Ali, but yeah, maybe I'll leave that till after the funeral. A quick point: some people say it's inappropriate. The man's just died. I disagree because if you can't say, someone that famous, when is the appropriate time? It's not as if his family is going to see my video, and someone that important, that influential. I think it's legitimate to that people have opinions on. Few more things. It looks like in the Middle East, ISIS they're getting more and more savage by the day. Some of the things they're reportedly doing, it defies comprehension. Apparently, they burned a group of women alive for refusing to be sex slaves. If that report is accurate, it shows just how depraved, how sadistic, and how thoroughly evil this group really is. And I make no apology for using the word evil. That's the only way that you can describe ISIS. It's just stomach churningly hard to comprehend what sort of poison enters their mind to do this to other human beings. not even worth thinking about. But it looks like both the Iraqi forces and the Syrian forces are pushing ISIS into a corner. And you know what they say: a cornered dog bites the hardest. But that's probably explains why they're getting more and more savage, because they're getting more and more desperate. Personally, I want to see ISIS wiped off the face of the earth. I think they're a cancer on the world. That's not to say that the Syrian regime is any better, but it's better having one bad force than two, I guess. Put it in a very simplistic, non-academic way. I'd like to add some good news. I'm sure there's always good news around. It's not always bad news in the world. There's always good news going on as well. I will close with this point, and I may make videos about news updates on various things. The world at any one time is never all bad or all good. Obviously, to be honest, a lot of the subjects I cover in my videos are more on the negative theme of things. And one thing I'm going to try and do more now is get more positive oriented videos. It's not that I don't believe in the things I'm talking about, and it's not that I regret mentioning these things because they're important issues, but I'm going to try and focus a bit more on positive news developments. And yeah, although of course a lot of the videos are also neutral. Um, yeah, so I'll leave it there. Let me know your thoughts about the US primaries at this stage. It looks almost definite that it will be Trump versus Clinton. Um, both candidates are controversial. Both are arguably very divisive. A lot of the British press has been saying that at this particular moment, they're two of the worst candidates America's ever pitched, and a lot of the American editorials are saying that as well. I do wonder, is it that all the energy that Clinton has used in previous elections has maybe damaged her to some extent? Part of me almost feels sorry for her because she has worked so hard in these campaigns and she's come so close the last time. I mean, if she doesn't get it this time, although she wouldn't be the first candidate to experience that. Donald Dewey, was it John Dewey, or I forget the guy's first name, but Thomas Dewey in the 1940s ran twice and lost twice. Adlai Stevenson ran twice in the 50s, lost twice. So it's not unheard of. Um, and that is in a general election. Okay, I'm going to round this up. That's just US politics, world news. It's now the 8th of June 2016. Thank you for watching.